Yo guys, what's up? It's your boy here, back with my second video on my road to WrestleMania SmackDown perspective. In this video, I'll be talking about the storylines and giving my thoughts and predictions to the SmackDown brand, their build to WrestleMania. I already did one for Raw, which is uploading right now um, as we speak. So please check out that video as well and come back and watch this one. So SmackDown. Whew. Okay, so a couple storylines here. So unlike Raw, SmackDown actually has um, the build for some of their matches have actually been pretty good on the SmackDown side. I guess I'll go from like top to bottom. I'm sorry, from bottom to top first. Rey Mysterio versus Samoa Joe for the United States title. Um, this I'm okay with this. I mean, like it's whatever. I know a lot of people were kind of rooting for Andrade Cien Almas or Andrade now. Andrade winning the United States title and um, defending it against Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania, just because those two have been tearing the house down and the like two or three matches that they've had over the last month and a half on SmackDown. But those plans changed, got nixed a little bit. Samoa Joe's the United States champion, which I'm fine with because I think Joe is long overdue for some main championship gold on the main roster. So, excuse me, to have Joe versus Ray at WrestleMania, I'm okay with this just because um, Joe's missed out on two WrestleManias back to back since he had been called up to the main roster. First time he didn't get called, he didn't get a spot at WrestleMania just because I don't know. And then the second time, I think he suffered an injury, um, which took him out of the game because I think they were probably building for him versus John Cena, but he got taken out due to an injury. So um, I say, hey, give him a moment, give him a WrestleMania moment. I could see Rey Mysterio probably winning it. I hope Joe would retain, but I could see Rey Mysterio winning it, and then shortly thereafter they reignite the feud with Andrade, and Andrade was the U.S. title for Mysterio. That could go that route, and if they go that route long term, I'll be fine with that too. Um, excuse me, I'm just recovering from a flu. The last 5 days, so excuse me if I cough a little bit or if my voice sounds a little strained. Um, but anyway, yeah. So next match we have on the card is AJ Styles versus Randy Orton. This is another match that has been built pretty well. Randy Orton making his little sly remarks and sly comments to AJ Styles backstage. You know, like the one segment where Styles was like, "Hey, I wish Kofi Kingston all the best and hope he wins. Gets his opportunity for the WWE Championship." And Orton said something along the lines of like, "You wish him the best to be champion. Like, no wonder why it took you 15 years to get here." Basically insinuating AJ Styles is like so nice. So that's why it takes him 15 years uh, just to get here. Anyway, um, this match I think is going to be a fun one. It's a fresh matchup we haven't seen before, a fresh feud we haven't seen before. They wrestled once before on SmackDown, but it wasn't a feud. So this is exciting just for that state alone. And Randy Orton and AJ Styles, I think, can have good chemistry together. Who would win out of this? I don't know. I could see Randy probably winning just because Randy hasn't really had um uh Randy hasn't had a big victory. I don't think. Since I can remember, I can't remember the last time Randy Orton had like a big feud that he won. Um, I can't think of any. So I can probably see Randy Orton win this. I don't think this will be a one and done. If this is a one and done feud at WrestleMania, I think it'd be kind of wasted. But we'll see. But I'm gonna kind of lean in the favor of Randy. Um, we'll see. He took advantage of AJ Styles last night on SmackDown, and took advantage of those Styles on SmackDown last night. We have one more go home show, so we'll see if Styles will probably retaliate. But I could see Randy getting this one. Miz versus Shane McMahon. Out of all the feuds leading up to WrestleMania, this one is probably has the longest build. Because I think everyone saw this coming a mile away that Miz and Shane would end up being tag team partners. They'd win the titles, and then eventually down the line, they'll end up becoming enemies and face each other at WrestleMania. I think everyone can say we saw that a mile away coming last summer, based off the whole best in the world and best tag team uh, storyline that they were getting. Only difference is we all thought Miz was going to be the one to screw over Shane. But WWE kind of, shocked everyone. I won't say shocked everyone, but did the opposite. And Shane turned heel instead, which I don't know how this really works in terms of, you have the McMahon family that all go out and say like, hey, we're gonna be both running both shows together as a family. And yet right now it kind of seems like McMahon and Shane are the heels, but Stephanie and Triple H are kind of like the faces or baby faces in some of these circumstances and situations. So I don't know how that's going to be long term. But heel Shane McMahon, whatever. I mean, it'll be refreshing for once. I mean, it's been like 5 years since Shane has been back, and since coming back, he's been, the everyone's favorite child of the McMahon family. So to see him turn heel after Jesus, like almost a decade or 15 years, however long it's been since we've seen Shane as a heel, it'll be interesting to see how they play that out beyond the Miz's storyline. This is the one match at WrestleMania, one of the few matches at WrestleMania I'm not too keen on. I don't really care about that much. I just don't. I don't know. Who do I see win this match? I don't know. I can see this match. I can see this feud going beyond WrestleMania, like another pay per view. So, I mean, I could see Miz get it because Miz is getting revenge, payback, for him being humiliated in front of his father in hometown by Shane. But at the same token, it really doesn't serve the purpose of Shane turning heel, because this would be like, what, the fourth WrestleMania that Shane has lost? I mean, like, let's be honest, I'm kind of over the whole Shane McMahon face, Wrestler A at WrestleMania. I'm kind of over it. It was fine for, The Undertaker. His build with AJ Styles was good, and his match was even better, with AJ Styles. He had a feud with Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn last year. The novelty of Shane fighting at WrestleMania, I'm kind of over. He loses most of his matches, minus the one he had, the tag team match he was involved in last year. I'm just kind of over it. I guess Miz will probably win it. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on that. I do know we have the women's tag team. Speaking of tag teams, none of the tag team matches at Revival have been, I think, booked just as bad since becoming tag team champions than before they were Raw tag team champions. They don't have a match for WrestleMania. The Usos don't have a match for WrestleMania. I know a lot of people have been speculating, thinking it was going to be Usos versus Hardys for the tag team titles. Looking at the WrestleMania card from both SmackDown and Raw, and you have the Andre Battle Royale, and I think it's supposed to be a women's Battle Royal as well. It's like 17 matches on the card. I don't know if both tag team matches from the men's division, I don't know if they're going to have space on the WrestleMania card. That's going to be a doozy, and it'll be unfortunate because I think Hardys versus Usos WrestleMania, that's a missed opportunity. They may do that at the following pay per view, but I think the better spot would be at WrestleMania. Anyways, on the thought of tag teams, excuse me, the women, um, the women are having a fatal four way tag team match. Sasha and Bailey. I think they've been kind of just all over the place since they won the tag team titles, the women's titles. It was going to be against Beth Phoenix and Natty, which I was kind of fine with. It's whatever. Beth Phoenix coming back out of retirement. Ooh, cool. And then they just kind of spun and they just threw two other tag teams in there. So now it's a fatal four way, making me care even less for this match. So that's happening. Next, Kofi Kingston. Kingston. Kingston now has his ticket to WrestleMania. Kingston last week fought in a gauntlet match against 6 other competitors. When Vince McMahon came out, she's like, no, you have one more other competitor. I'm sorry, 5 at first. You have one more competitor. Daniel Bryan comes out, beats Kingston, pins him, road to WrestleMania dream gone. The New Day have been selling this great. A lot of things that both Xavier Woods and Big E have been sharing online on social media, really playing into the fact that WWE, aka Vince McMahon, doesn't want to see us succeed or get to another level because basically we're black, which is funny because everything I mentioned about this whole Kingston push for the last month, you guys have seen the videos. I've talked about this. I've said they kind of need to mention some of these things, and which, kayfabe or not, it's true. I mean, there is that certain stigma that kind of needs to be talked about in WWE. Even though they're not saying it directly, they're pussyfooting around it, but they're acknowledging that, like, hey, like, yeah, there is a certain demographic of our fan base that do kind of have complained with this and rightfully so. I almost even say complain, but they see this issue and they kind of question and kind of bring it to light. So for the CW to kind of acknowledge that a little bit, I think is great, and it does add some realism to the storyline. So last night on SmackDown, McMahon basically told Kingston, "You're out of your chances. No more chances for you." However, Xavier and Big E, if you guys aren't B+ tag teams, can you defeat the other tag teams on SmackDown in a gauntlet match? If you guys win, Kofi will have his title shot at WrestleMania. They had the gauntlet match, later in the night. Sorry, guys. Got distracted for a second. They had the match later on in the night. They won, and Kingston is going to WrestleMania. So it is now officially confirmed. Kofi Kingston versus Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship. Who I think is going to win this? I'm kind of 50-50 on this, and here's why. Kingston could be... This is their chance to do something right. Kingston could win the championship, but I also feel like WWE may pull a Booker T in WrestleMania 19. And if you know what I mean, for some of those older wrestling fans, you know what I mean when I say that. You remember that feud with Booker T and Triple H, which for this feud, they kind of taken a few notes a little bit from that feud, over a decade ago. It's kind of like that, where they talked about, the black champions, and all you're good enough for is just to juck and jive and, dance around. You're not meant to be a champion like us, so do what you do and entertain us, type of like thing. And what should have happened didn't, and that was Booker T ended up losing his title match at WrestleMania 19. Fast forward, 12, 14 years later, I would hope they don't do that. A lot of people are behind Kingston. A lot of people are rooting for him. Not only fans, but even some people within the business who, when I say within the business, not necessarily working with NW, because some of the social media filter that they've been given, was they kind of force it, AJ Styles rooting for Kingston, Mustafa Ali rooting for Kingston, and all and stuff like that. These people, it's to feed the storyline. People that are in the business but are not working with WWE are kind of giving their positive vibes to Kofi Kingston winning the championship and think that he should win. I think he should win the WWE championship, but I still stand firm in this. If Kingston wins the WWE championship, they gotta change that New Day gimmick. They gotta do something with it, because the jucking and jiving, flipping pancakes, that ain't gonna cut it if you're gonna be the guy on the blue brand carrying its flagship championship. I'm sorry, they got it. My opinion of that has not changed. Excuse me. Lately they have been. The New Day have been a little bit more serious. They haven't been as goofy-ish because they've been kind of fighting, for this moment. So they've had that, but they got to change something. There have been some, I will say, speculation, some rumors going around that Vince McMahon may pull the trigger for Kingston at WrestleMania because the marketing team apparently have come up with a slew full of marketing products, like merchandise, that they could sell should Kingston be champion. With Kingston as champion, they're like, hey, this is the whole bunch of shit we can market and sell if Kingston becomes champion. And that's what sold Vince McMahon to quite possibly pulling the trigger for Kingston at Mania. If that's the case, do it. Don't wait, do it. Give Kingston the WWE Championship. But in the process of them doing this, if they get a whole new lineup of merchandise, they gotta change the gimmick. Be a little bit more serious, a little bit more serial. If they're gonna keep them baby faces, that's fine. I would still say again, do something with a Black Panther type of gimmick. Maybe you don't have to be heel right away, but something that exudes Black excellence. And it's funny that I said that, because the first time I mentioned that, or the second time I mentioned that in my thoughts on the storyline, there was a picture that went around of New Day. I don't know where they were, but they were in Black Panther gear. Kingston was dressed up as Black Panther himself. Xavier was dressed up as Killmonger, and Big E was dressed up as the guy from the Gorilla Tribe in the movie. And I said to myself, I'm like, funny, because I just mentioned this. Now, I'm not saying they have to dress like the characters themselves. That's not what I'm saying. But take some of those characteristics of that movie and of Black excellence or whatnot, and put a little spin on it, because I don't think no one's doing that right now in wrestling. So they got to change the cornballish gimmicks. They got you. So I say, if that's the case, pull the trigger on Kingston, make him WWE champion, do the right thing, WWE, have a moment, make history. And that's the other thing that kind of scares me, because your top three big matches, the Raw Women's title match, the Universal title match, and then the SmackDown WWE Championship match, I don't think we're going to get a clean sweep with all these matches. I don't think we're going to see, Becky Lynch win, Kofi win, and Seth Rollins wins all of their prospective matches. If they do, that'll be awesome. That'll be great. But I just don't see it. One of those three, either between Kingston, Becky, or Seth, one of those three competitors, they ain't winning. They're not walking out of WrestleMania with championship gold. Becky, I'm guaranteed she's walking out. She's the main event excuse me, for WrestleMania, she's walking out with the strap. But that's why I kind of say I'm a little bit 50-50. So if Kofi wins, I don't think Seth is going to win. If Seth wins, I don't think Kingston's going to win. One of those two are going to be a sacrificial lamb. In a perfect world, in a great world, it would be awesome if all three of those competitors win their respective championships. But it's with WWE, I just don't get it. I don't see it happening. But like I said, I'll hold my breath. But until then, I'm going to say Kofi Kingston. Speaking of Becky, so last night on SmackDown, because this turns the head on everything involving the Raw Women's Title match. Now, notice I mentioned the Raw Women's Title match, but I hadn't mentioned the SmackDown Women's Title match, and that's because last night on SmackDown, Asuka defended her Women's Championship against Charlotte, and Charlotte beat Asuka to become an 8-time Women's Champion, first in WWE's history. That throws a huge monkey wrench into this main event in terms of what they're going to do. A lot of people have been angry and upset over the last 24 hours of the internet. They are enraged that why is Charlotte getting another title when she already has a title shot at Mania, and also poor Asuka, which I kind of admit, I do feel bad for Asuka because I just don't know what it is with Asuka. They just can't seem to get it right with that girl since she's been with that woman, I should say, since she's been brought up to the main roster. They just can't get it right with her, and I don't understand. They did right by having her win the women's title back in December. It makes sense, but since then, she's been kind of like an afterthought. I mean, up until last night, there were no plans for Asuka going forward, in terms of who she defend her title against at WrestleMania. Now, we know that it was supposed to have been originally a fatal four-way between Mandy Rose, the Usos' wife, Carmella, and someone else, the other MMA boxing chick. It was supposed to be a fatal four-way, but that match ended up getting scrapped 2 hours before the show aired live. That match ended up getting scrapped. WWE worked overtime in deleting a lot of social media posts promoting that match because it was supposed to be a fatal four-way. That contender faces Asuka at WrestleMania. But WWE went in overtime, deleting any social media on the internet, Twitter, Facebook, that had promoted that match. And within 2 hours before we went live, they flipped the script and changed what they did for concerning the women's title. So I do feel bad for Asuka. Now, this changes a lot of things for the Raw Women's Championship going to WrestleMania, because earlier in the night, Becky Lynch had a backstage promo. She was like, "I bring the people, Ronda brings the title into this match. What does Charlotte bring to this match, being the third wheel? What does she bring?" Well, we got that answered later in the night, because it looks like Charlotte's bringing the championship too. Now, I don't know what this, we'll have to know where we go forward with this, because Charlotte is now SmackDown's champion, but she's also number one contender to the Raw champion. So does this mean, does Asuka get a rematch at WrestleMania and Charlotte does double duty? She gets a rematch against Asuka and then she fights later in the night on Raw? Or does this mean the main event match becomes a unification match between the Raw and SmackDown titles? They get combined. Like what does this mean? This changes a lot. Excuse me. This changes a lot, the perspective a lot for the Raw for the main event in terms of and where they go. And for them to only have 2 shows left, Raw and SmackDown, but I'll just speak for SmackDown. This is SmackDown we're talking here. for them to have one more show left until WrestleMania, it's kind of like, I'm curious. I can't judge it and say it's bad booking. It is on the fly shit. It is. It's on the fly shit. It's random as hell. I do feel bad for Asuka because I feel like she, at the end of the day, she's been kind of like the sacrificial lamb and has been getting the short end of the stick, not in just this situation, but her entire reign of being the SmackDown champion. I think she's been getting the short end of the stick and not being a main focal point of the blue brand, which is kind of sad. But I just think that I don't know where they go with this. Like, I don't. At the end of the day, I still think Becky wins. I still think Becky wins the Raw Women's title. Now, I failed to mention this in my Raw perspective of the series, but originally I was going to say that the reason why Charlotte was to be thrusted into this match was so that she would be the one to take the pinfall or the submission from Becky when Ronda loses the strap, because I don't think Ronda is going to tap out. If Ronda taps out, man, that'd be a huge boost for Becky, but I think it'd kind of be very detrimental for Ronda's character if Ronda was to tap out to Becky Lynch's armbar. But like I said, it'd be huge for Becky, but detrimental to Ronda. So I thought that, hey, you have Charlotte in there to take the heat, in terms of pin or submission. Now that Charlotte's champion, that could still happen, but she's now the SmackDown Women's Champion. So they might not want to take any heat off of her now, because now she has newfound heat. Man. Like I said, SmackDown's been doing a little bit of things a little bit more interesting than Raw. The storyline's a little bit more stronger. The builds have been a little bit more great. I don't know where they go from this. At the end of the day, I definitely do think Becky will win the Raw Women's title in this triple threat main event. And one of my buddies brought up the point. He was like, they're probably going to want to have a WrestleMania moment, because you do know Sasha Banks and Bayley are the women's tag champs. Becky wins the Raw title. Charlotte just won the SmackDown title. Those are the four horsewomen right there. The four horsewomen owning all the championships on the roster, and that they may want to do like a Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero type of moment, where despite the heat between Charlotte and Becky, once Becky beats Ronda, takes her strap or whatever, you have a moment where Banks and Bayley come in and they all hoist their championships up in the air to close out Raw. I could see that. I could see that happening. I really could. I could see that happening. Or if that be a moment at WrestleMania, I could see it be a moment like the Raw after WrestleMania or the SmackDown after WrestleMania, where you have all four horsewomen with all championship titles. And I know WWE can probably do that. So I I see that happening. But regardless of the case, I see Becky winning. It's just a little bit interesting to see where they're going to go with this now that Charlotte is a champion as well. SmackDown champion, and as well a contender for the Raw Women's title. At the end of the day, it kind of fucks up things a lot with this brand split thing. I mean, it really does. It fucks up a lot with this brand split. But yeah, I'm looking forward to WrestleMania. Like I said, there's some matches not too keen on, others I'm not. I may have missed a match or two here or there. There's the Andre Battle Royale. I know it's at WrestleMania. Don't really care who wins that. Finn Balor. I forgot to mention this in my Raw perspective. Finn Balor has another shot against Bobby Lashley for the Intercontinental title. I think Balor is going to win that. I'm trying to see what else. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, really. Well, the Cruiserweight title is on the line. I forgot who Murphy's going to be facing. But, yeah, you guys let me know what you think about all of this. Charlotte being champion, how does this change the perspective of the main event for WrestleMania? Does it change it? Would it be a unification match? Would it, to unify both titles? Or will Charlotte lose her spot because she's already champion? So why fight for another championship? Let me know what you guys think about all this and more in the comment box below. Do yourself a favor, hit that like button and subscribe. Peace.